Okay, let's see if we can do an official start.
I hear it in the air. I feel it in the air. Who's your neighbor? Who's your friend? Oh, there's hate all around. I don't care about your fucking politics. I don't want to hear about your politics. Oh, well, he said boo. Oh, and she said hooray. Now we're human beings right here. Human beings. We're here together. Come on.
All right. How's it going?
Good, man. How about you?
What's happening?
What's happening?
What's happening? What have they done to us? What are they doing?
What are they doing to us? Such a good song.
I've got some other good songs for today
Okay, nice.
as well. We'll see if we get to them.
Okay. Did you check out that Professor Jiang video I sent?
Yeah, I think I started it but didn't finish it. It seemed like
Okay.
some of the stuff that I had heard from him before and some of his other Israel stuff.
Mhm.
But what stuck out to you? Will you remind
Stuck
me,
out-
please? What's on
Sure.
my mind was the newest podcast that you sent. So my brain is having trouble
Oh,
back to the other one.
okay.
I listened to that one this morning on 1.5.
Oh,
So
okay,
just
the
went
Jack
crazy
Kruse
with
one?
it. Crazy
Jack
with it.
Kruse. The Jack Kruse one you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey. Yeah, that one. Yeah, you know what? It's like he has a way of, whenever I feel like, I watched the Professor Chang one and I was like, I don't know, I was feeling like inspired and enlightened. Because I felt like it put a piece of the puzzle down that I hadn't been aware of before.
Which was what?
The Sabbatean Frankism,
Okay.
which I had heard about before, but had never really like looked into.
Mm-hmm.
And so hearing him talk about it, I'd heard about like Sabbatai, Zevi, and I guess his name is the other, who was the guy who, the Jewish guy who like declared himself the Messiah in 1666.
Okay.
So, like 666. So you got that thing. And he kind of outlines this philosophy that Jacob Frank runs with, and that became like Sabbatean Frankism. Well, let's just call it Frankism. And that basically, it's interesting because the Frankism, it really mirrors kind of like the law of like do as thou wilt. Kind of like the satanic thing.
Right,
Like,
absolutely.
because if you look at the satanic, I remember Frau, whatever, a year or two ago, showed me like the laws or tenets of Satanism.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, there's like a lot of overlap here with like Buddhism, and Eastern philosophy. And I was just kind of like, that's interesting.
Hmm.
And, but it obviously has a little other slant to it where Buddhism is more like a Hallmark card a bit,
Sure.
in comparison, it's not really has much cruelty or meanness to it. Not that and the satanic rules didn't even have that much cruelty overtly. It was just some of it was like a little subtle, like it was just not trying to sugarcoat things, but it was kind of basically like do what you will,
Mm-hmm.
and become wise and enlightened, or
Yeah.
whatever. And so the Frankism, it's materialistic. It's basically saying that the laws of God or of you that humans make are basically for the stupid people. They're for like the slave class or the plebs.
Right.
And that basically, so the people that follow them like so obediently, he's basically like, these people are idiots. And the only way that you learn is by testing these things and breaking these laws. And okay, you might get punished, but you'll survive, you know. And when you survive and you learn these wisdoms, you will. I guess to me, it's weird because it's hard for me to look at things so black and white. It's a lot of people go into this stuff and they're like, these people are just evil. They're just evil. And it's a fight between good and bad, or good and evil. And to me, I've always been, that's, I don't know, that hasn't fully sat well with me. Like, to some extent there's some truth to that, but I feel like it's overly simplified. And I do feel like, in a way, if life is a game or a sport and the point is to win, and I'm not saying it is, but the point of it is to win, but I'm just saying, if you're going to look at it like, whatever, you want to invest or you want to play basketball, like, your job isn't, your job is to win. Your job is to, if it's investing, is to make as much money as you can. So obviously you want to win and you want to do whatever you can to win. And so the rules are there, but it's only, the rules and the laws only matter if you get caught, or busted or punished. But it's like, okay, that might happen. But the people that need to follow rules, it's like, well, that's, they'll never question these things. They'll never try these things. They'll never learn these things. So in a certain way, and I guess the thing for me where it gets this gray area is whether it's Christianity, Judaism, or Buddhism, or whatever. It's like something about them. There just seems to be this like slavery. It's like this slave propaganda to it that's always been weird to me, and rubbed me wrong.
Do you mean that it advocates for slavery, or that it's designed to keep people as slaves, or both?
Yeah, no, more the latter. Like, it's designed to keep people slaves.
Yes, absolutely correct.
And it's like, basically, follow what I say, do as I say, don't question it. And this is just the truth. And these are the laws and the rules. And those who don't follow the laws are going to get punished.
Yeah, or else. Yeah, absolutely.
Or else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it seems, so it's always, and I'm, like yourself, I'm very influenced by Buddhism, and I don't know, whatever. My life and my mind has been enriched by it, but at the same time, there are these aspects of it that, I don't know, they rub me wrong, and make me think that this is a slave religion, or at least some aspects of it are there to kind of enslave people and keep them enslaved and keep them obedient and keep them, kind of like, instead of breaking the laws and the rules. Like, I remember when I was like a kid, my dad told a story about why cows are sacred to Hinduism. And I don't think the point of a story was to be like so historically accurate, as much as it was like an intellectual exercise into like, that the ruler of India was basically greatly valued their cattle, and they didn't want the people stealing his cattle. So he would make cows sacred, so no one would want to steal from him, some of his most prized possession, his sacred cows. And that was something that always like rang true for me. Like, it makes sense to have everyone follow certain rules and not question certain things. And it's not because there's some sort of higher truth to it, or there's a God that will, if he doesn't get you in this life, he's going to get you in the next life. It's like a form of protection, it's like a form of protecting what's valuable to you. Um, and so it seemed to me like Frankism is basically like, yeah, idiots, don't you see? Like that's what most all laws are based on, is that these powerful people, and players, they have these laws because they're protecting their shit, and and it's up to us to like see that game, and if you're willing to risk it, and in some ways it's almost like he's Morpheus from the Matrix,
Who is?
where he's Frank.
Oh, okay.
Frankism is like it's like Morpheus, where he's like, look, we're in the Matrix, and most people are just in the Matrix, and they just think, well, if I do this, I get hurt or die. But we're in this Matrix, and those of us who know it, we can use that to our advantage. Like, and when he trains Neo, and he's like, you have to know the difference of which laws can bend and which ones, will break, kind of thing. And that's like the basis of them, in a way, becoming like enlightened or free of the constraints of the world, in the Matrix. So it's this freeing thing that empowers them, where now, once you start going deeper and deeper and tapping into it more and more, you could become this like almost like God. And if life is a kind of, because on some level, I think we've talked about it, like on some level, like I feel like there are different driver's tests in a way, where it's like you're not allowed on the road to drive unless you pass the written test and then the driving test. And then, once you've proven that you're eligible for that, like in a way, like if there are these aliens and we're trapped on planet Earth, and it's like, yeah, you guys are not allowed to leave planet Earth, or go very far away from it, until you've proven to us that you are capable of knowing some of these greater, more powerful secrets of the universe. Like, for example, like once you guys develop these nuclear weapons, now we're paying attention to you. Like now you've passed a certain test,
Right.
but now we're like watching you, because now you finally tapped into, like, because nuclear weapons are probably, if not the first test, they're probably one of the earlier tests.
For sure.
Right? And so the people that are basically willing to tap into that stuff, like say like Oppenheimer in the nuclear bomb, like he was like on that first test, he's like, there's a non-zero chance that this just destroys the whole Earth. But they have to be willing to risk it, right? So I mean, I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable risking something that had a non-zero chance to destroy everyone, but it's kind of like fortune favors the bold, right? And those who are willing to take those risks and try some of that shit out, those are the ones that usually, some of them die, some of them suffer, have their face blown off, but the ones that succeed, they're the ones that, innovate or find the new thing, like, like Prometheus with fire, when the Titans give the humans fire, and open Pandora's box, which, has good and bad to it. It unleashes chaos and all this other, potentially terrible things, but it also gives them fire and hope and wisdom and knowledge, which is also, again, mirrors the Garden of Eden with the serpent, whereas God doesn't want humans to eat from the tree of knowledge, right? And it's the snake that tells them, hey guys, try this, eat from this, and then you'll start to learn. And then God doesn't like that. And maybe I guess you could debate whether God is like, hey, that's like giving matches to children, like you shouldn't be doing it, but at the same time, you could also view it like God wants us to be ignorant, and the Frankists are, whether it's like the comparison to Morpheus or the snake in the Garden of Eden or Prometheus it's like taking this risk and opening up this new doorway to new advancements and new innovation that otherwise it's like most people are like, no, 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 we're not going down that route. Like the people that are like, no, 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 you do certain things, there's a proper way to do things, and we don't deviate from that. And it's like, but how are you going to learn unless you take risks and blah, blah, blah. So the people that are willing to take those risks, are the ones that end up, the ones that survive are the ones that are going to tap into like, almost like magical powers, where they're going to tap into things that are going to allow them a competitive advantage, over most other people. And so that Frankism, that, and it's interesting because he's basically saying that, most of the people that went into Frankism early on were Jews. And that Frankism, like they actually, these were Jews that created this, and they like looked down on Judaism, So it's interesting because even though a lot of them are Jews, and then, it grows this network of not only Jews, but there is a sizable portion of them are Jews, it gets viewed by non-Jews as this, Jewish conspiracy, but really it's like a Frankist thing, that he basically says, Professor Jiang, in that he says that basically eventually the Frankists, who he says the Rothschilds are Frankists, and one of the students says, "Oh, does this have anything to do with like Israel-Palestine conflict?" And he's like, "Well, we'll get into that more later, but yes, it does because the people that founded Israel were Frankists." And so, and he says that basically the Frankists start infiltrating all the secret societies of the world. And he said there's like, some people think that this Jacob Frank guy was the founder of the Illuminati and the real founder of it. And he kind of says that he thinks there's something to that. Like he's not saying like, oh, that is unquestionably true, but he's like, I think there's something to that. And that basically the Frankists infiltrate enough of the secret society that are, have a big enough role in the ruling power groups of some of the most major power centers of the world, whether in Britain, France, or in at the Vatican, and that basically this deal gets struck between the Frankists and like the Vatican and I guess some of the royal families and the secret societies, where it's basically like the Frankists say, okay, we're going to make this deal, and basically part of the deal is that the Jews are going to be the scapegoats. So it's like they're surrendering or they're volunteering the Jews to become the scapegoats of what they're doing, of whatever this conspiracy to, New World Order conspiracy to, create this world and render the old. So he said there was a deal between the Jews and the black nobility. That's what he said. He said, the black nobility, he said, are the 13 like basically families or bloodlines that are the power behind the Vatican. And so I just thought it was like interesting because it was like this missing puzzle piece for me, to learn this like ideological or philosophical approach to life, which is, he said, was proto-liberalism. Like early forms of liberalism were expressed through Frankism, like individuality,
Hmm.
Um, like stop being basically like stop being such a stupid pussy, you know, and take some risks,
Yeah,
you
that's what
know.
he's talking about right now. I'm reading along. I've got the video going with the cross closed captioning. That's what
Uh-huh.
he's talking about. That this guy is like, you don't have to follow the laws anymore. Everybody has their own,
Yeah.
unique perspective, and you don't have to like belong to any particular religion or anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know. So there's just there's something about it that I was like, shit, like, this makes a lot of sense, you know. Um and and something I remember, at the when I had my breakdown at the beginning of COVID was like when I was like bargaining with God, for lack of better description. Um, I was like going back and forth. I was like riding the bike to Brooklyn, and I was like crying as I was riding, just being like, "Oh my God, this is really the beginning of the end game."
Hmm.
And like, and part of me up until that point was like, "Oh man, this whole system is so fucking thoroughly rotten that there's a part of me that just like was like, yeah, fucking take it all down,
Hmm.
tear it all down because that's the only way you need to start this shit over." To
Hmm.
tear it all down because it's so rotten to the core. But then as I was like realizing or feeling like they're starting to do that now. They're starting to really tear it down. I was starting to realize like, oh shit. Like, yeah, maybe on some idealistic level, maybe the ends will justify the means and that'll be good because it's so rotten and corrupt to the core that you need to start over. But I was like, oh my God, this is going to be terrible. Like
Hmm.
for those of us who have
Hmm.
to live through it, like, oh my God. And like how many people are going to die and suffer. And it's going to be, and I was like, wait, and all of a sudden it was like, I was like in a way ideologically or idealistically on my idealistic deathbed and being like, wait a second, maybe I was wrong. Like, humans actually have some wonderful qualities.
Right,
And,
right. Yeah.
and was like, wait, maybe we shouldn't just tear it all down.
Hmm.
Maybe, give us a chance. And I was like begging and pleading. I'm like, we can make it better and all this, shit like pleading and trying to bargain, and realizing like, oh my God, for this to happen, like it's gonna get messy and nasty. And but something that I was like, oh, I realized like a eureka moment. I'm like, power is really about like in this great game of power, like it's a big part of it is about the willingness to sacrifice your own people, you
Hmm.
know, and lead them down death's door. And then here you go. And it's like, thank you, you saved us. And then the door locks. And it's like, oh my God, we're not saved. We're about to all, have the worst fate imaginable,
Yeah.
and it's like real power. I just had this realization that real power was about that. Like that was a fast track to it because all of these things, whether it's like the Vatican, who we speak for the Catholics, and Israel being like, we speak for the Jews, and whatever, Donald Trump or Biden or whoever being like, we speak for Americans,
Hmm.
and it's like this whole thing where it's like, you just have to be the consented leader, because that's the weird thing about a lot of this like satanic or whatever you want to call it thing where they have a surprising desire to like get consent, where it's like, wait, why do you want consent? Why do you care about that? I thought you'd want to just like do whatever you want and not care about how it's affecting others. It's like it's almost like a way a vampire is like, I'm not going to enter your house until you invite me in,
Hmm. Hmm.
because once you invite me in, now all of a sudden the normal things that we could be vulnerable to, now we're not vulnerable to, you know? And it's almost like a legal thing, or like the way
Yeah.
you ever see that South Park, and the human centipede episode when was it Steve Jobs or whoever was was like, remember, you all consented to this. You all
Right,
agreed to our terms and
right,
agreements.
right, right.
And you didn't know that deep in those terms and agreements was that we get to turn you all into human centipede, you
Yes,
know? And
yes,
it's like that, where it's like, oh my God, I did agree to this and I did sign and give them the rights to this. So legally, like we can't even stop them. You know, we'd have to revolt and topple things because it's actually legal what they're doing,
yeah,
you know? Um, and yeah, so it was like a big missing puzzle piece for me, that I hadn't really considered or thought deeply about or known much about.
yeah.
And now it's like, shit, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of fucking sense because honestly, you know, up until COVID, like when Israel was like one of the first countries to mass vaccinate and demand that all their people do it, and if anyone doesn't, then they're not allowed to participate in society. Like, whoa, that was like a big eye opener for me. You know, like you'd have to assume most politicians and stuff were like, no, the vaccine is good. It's they were like true believers. But the real brains are like, no, no, we know this is a fucking bioweapon. We know this is terrible. We know this is a compliance test. And for them to do it to their own people, it was eye-opening to me. I was like, oh my God. Like I was wrong. I thought their leadership actually cared about them. I thought
Mm,
they were different in that way, in that, because I'm Jewish and I was born and raised with, whatever our particular narrative of history and what's all the persecution and of us, and I just assumed that the leaders there cared about their people more than say America's leaders care about Americans. And then I was like, no. And now seeing what's going on, I mean, it's obviously they're much worse to the Palestinians, but it's like, no, they're fucking doing this to their own people too, you
hmm
know, you
hmm
know, and and Zionism, I would argue, and it's not just my argument, it's the argument of others, and I totally agree with them, that what Zionism really is it's using Jews as human shields and cannon fodder to further the interests of the empire,
hmm
and once you realize that, you're like, oh my God, like the leadership, like they claim to be like, no, we care about Jews, like, with this attack in Australia, oh my God, we need to protect you. It's like, no, no, you don't care about them at all. you know you're willing to sacrifice your people for this, and that's part of why they get such a big seat at the table, I think, is because they can effectively do it, in ways that not many other people can get away with.
Well, and kind of like you're saying, that's one of the main pathways to power, and that's
Yep.
the philosophical basis I remember learning is that the power comes from sovereignty, and sovereignty is the ability or the right to decide what is an emergency or not, what's actually important, or really what to die for, or what it's okay
Mm-hmm.
to send your people to war over, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
spirituality or because they're going to kill us first or because God told me so or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, even
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even in I Am a Crooked Cucumber, the first Zen master who came to America, he talked about being in Japan and seeing monks painting Buddhist prayers on the sides of missiles because
Huh.
with the power of Buddha, they'll find their target better,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. Which
realizing
is,
and
uh-huh.
and sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, like this is totally messed up." But yeah, you could even use
Yeah.
Buddhism or whatever to justify it. That of course dovetails with what Foucault would say that power uses Judaism, uses Christianity, uses
Mm-hmm.
knowledge and truth to determine what's important to die for, what you can lock people up for, or what you can
Mm-hmm.
or what you can make them take certain medications because they're not acting normal enough, or
Mm-hmm.
that's can be used. These things can be used as instruments of power.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And so those who have the will to power, right, the will to
Exactly.
seize it, right,
Exactly.
they're the ones who get the power, and the ones who are like, no, we're nice, we're kind, we don't want to hurt a soul. And it's like, all right, good, good. You're a nice slave. Now continue to be a nice slave and sit back while we butcher all of you. You know, it's like, what? You're going to butcher all of us? It's like, yes, but don't worry, you don't want to hurt anyone, so don't get
Right.
involved.
And God told us that this is a sign. Look, it's right here.
Yeah,
So
right.
we're just doing, I'm not bad. I'm just doing
Yeah,
what God told me to do. Like, you can understand that, right? Then they're like, oh,
right.
sure, I
Exactly,
guess.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. You're
So
like, well, we didn't think it was going to go this way, but I guess you have a point.
that makes sense. Yeah, because my culture is trying to do the same thing. Like our
Right,
told us to be peaceful.
right. It's like you all agreed to this. You all signed the terms and agreements. You all agreed to this. Like, well, I guess we did agree to it. Oh man. Oh man.
Yeah, and with it was a lot. It was something you said way back, so it may be lost now.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, the idea of these spiritual paths, you were talking about Buddhism being, you know
A slave religion or
right, which I think kind of, you can kind of say that about
anything. Yeah.
in any religion. But
Hmm.
that when I made my how to hack your spiritual experience videos, that was one of the earlier on ones. Is
Hmm.
I said, we need to be asking why these religions don't work.
Hmm.
If one of the religions worked, we would know, because those people would be like praying and getting all the stuff. So we need to be asking why doesn't Christianity or Buddhism or Zen or whatever, why doesn't it,
Hmm.
what's going on there, and why aren't we
Hmm.
questioning that? Which is, it's basically coming from UG Krishnamurti, of like, they promise something that they don't ever have to deliver until after
Hmm.
dead. Like,
Hmm.
like they don't have to provide the product. They're selling heaven
Hmm.
after you die. So you don't have to deliver the thing now. So in the meantime, we're gonna tell you to go kill people, or go get killed,
Hmm. Hmm.
for your reward, and we'll pay you for this after you die. You'll
Yeah,
get paid for
exactly.
it, don't worry, but it'll be after you die.
Hmm.
And none of that stuff works. And we should be questioning, how come, if Christianity is true, why doesn't it work for everybody? If
Hmm.
it's true, why doesn't it work for everybody? Why doesn't it lead to enlightenment? They've failed us. All these saints and saviors of mankind have totally failed us. That they said, do this or do that, and you'll be enlightened, or you'll get the kingdom of heaven, or whatever, and then it
Hmm.
doesn't work. And then what they say is, well, you'll get it after you die, or the other way, the classic way is, well, that just means you don't have enough faith. Something wrong with you.
Yeah.
You're
Hmm.
not doing it enough. You're only praying 3 times a day. Well, it should be 5,
Yeah. Yeah.
or you really don't believe, actually, or you've sold your soul to a demon, or, it's
Hmm.
always
Hmm.
your fault. You're not trying hard enough in
Hmm.
those systems. And we never, or we're not taught to question why, because then we're, as you would say, then we're actually questioning authority. We're questioning our parents and our culture, of why did they teach us this shit when it's just doesn't even work.
Hmm.
And that's our knowledge system. That's our whole. And then once you're questioning that, then it's like, oh wait, the people who taught me how the world works are fucking morons. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to throw away a lot of this knowledge that I have, because
Right.
it was taught to me by people who had no clue what's going on. People who say, oh yeah, follow the teachings of Buddha or Christ or something, and you'll get some reward, not in this life, but in your next life.
Hmm. Hmm. Right. Right. Which is the ultimate IOU. It's one I don't have to repay in this lifetime, which is like,
Yeah.
wow, what a brilliant idea, you know, to get people so afraid of this theoretical thing that may or may not be true.
Yes,
And,
and
but,
fear is at the heart of it. Fear is absolutely at the heart of it.
hmm.
So easy to control once they're scared. There's
Yep.
it's very, very simple. So then, yeah, then this plan that doesn't make sense when your whole brain is on, then when you get terrified enough because the XYZ is coming to murder you, suddenly I'm willing to start fighting. Suddenly I'm willing to take a bomb and go blow myself up or something.
Right.
Once I'm
Like
scared.
now you'll be willing to take the risk that
Exactly
normally
right.
you wouldn't. But
Yeah,
now you're
don't
taking
you
the
want to
risk.
protect your family, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So you just create the necessary theater, for them to be like, now I need to go against these laws and rules that I claimed I would never go against. But now there's this loophole, that is actually you're fighting for God, So now God wants you to kill,
Well,
and the
that's a perfect segue to the retired vet, because who are the soldiers? Is it the super rich people? No, it's the poor people. It's the people who are
right.
worried about their own survival and need a way. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's like, so let's do this. I've been waiting to do this veteran.
Okay.
It's just
Okay.
so okay. Here we go. They're asking him like, why did he, um, you know, sign up to be in the military?
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
What motivated you to enlist?
Poverty. I joined the Army because of poverty. The number one recruitment tool of the United States military is to go to highly impoverished areas and offer things that America doesn't offer you, like healthcare, housing, income, stability. We offer our soldiers socialism to go abroad and defend capitalism. And I was too poor to say no. I was in the Army from 2001 to 2014, served in Iraq and Afghanistan, both theaters. I got out of the military 7 years short of a 20-year career, and that doesn't happen that much. And the reason I did is because the longer I was in the military and the more I saw what America did abroad and what we were really, our true motivations were, it made me realize that America was not on the right path. And I would talk to Iraqis and say, hey, why do you hate America so much? And they would say, you invaded our country, you blew our neighborhoods up. Started realizing, shit, maybe we're the bad guys. So,
Yep.
Coming back home, getting off the Kool-Aid and realizing what my country really is, which is a place where white supremacy has never been held accountable. White supremacy is the root of this whole thing, and it's never been held accountable. There's never been a time where we corrected the wrongs of white supremacy. And so we're taught from a young age to put our hand over our heart and declare our allegiance to a flag.
Here, yeah, the get everybody right. You need these ideas that people are going to rally behind, and I needed to pause it so we don't get a copyright strike. Here we go.
Okay.
But that flag never declares its allegiance back.
Right.
In a relationship where love is only sent one way, that's toxic. If my own child was in a relationship and they loved their significant other, but their significant other ignored them, wouldn't provide them housing, wouldn't take them to the hospital when they were sick, wouldn't feed them when they were hungry, wouldn't let them in when they were cold, then I would tell my child to get the hell out of this toxic relationship. But yet here in America, we're told to stay in that relationship because that's patriotism. Patriotism is demanding better of your country. And where we're at now is where America was always heading, because we chose not to hold white supremacy to account, and because we chose not to provide the most basic needs of a society. And so when this is over, we can't go back to the status quo.
Yeah.
Boom. And we'll do Itzhal Bentov at some point.
What?
Nothing. Anyway, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? You create conditions where enough of the population will be in a, socioeconomic place to be like, you know what? Like joining the military sounds like a good idea to me. It sounds like a good deal. Because what other option do you have? The other option is to go seriously into debt or if you're lucky enough, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. What?
But yet they play this thing of patriotism where they're like, support the troops and love the troops. I remember Smedley Butler, talking about like when he was, young, he's like, before he woke up from the military experience or indoctrination, he was talking about like how the Medal of Honor, or the medals that they would win. He's like, not even J.P. Morgan can get one of these medals. It's just like, yeah, he can. He can just buy it for $50 or whatever. But creating this idea that this medal, not even J.P. Morgan can get, but you can get if you make the ultimate sacrifice. And people being like, ooh, I'm part of this elite thing now. I'm one of the, special people now, because that's what it's this tokenism of creating something out of nothing, creating like fiat currency. It's not real. It's not really backed by anything, but it's like, as long as you accept it, you go and you buy real food, or you buy whatever, oil, you buy real things with this thing that isn't real. But you've given it value. It's a way to, and Professor Jiang talks about how war is largely done to keep a certain equilibrium, like to kill off people, keep a certain social equilibrium, or something to that effect.
Yeah, the status quo. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
No, that's because that's what business depends on.
Mm-hmm.
The way you make money is by maintaining the status quo, which is basically I need the same thing today to essentially happen yesterday. That happened yesterday. You want it to be somewhat predictable so that you can squeeze the most profit out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, there's going to be big, crazy things that happen, but we want to try and control when, how, when, where, and how those things happen. Yes, weird stuff is going to happen. We want to try and be way out front of them, or possibly even just causing them ourselves, so that we can profit the most off of it.
Right?
There are weird things. If you could keep everything just like boring and normal, as long as McDonald's and Taco Bell are functional, like, hey, we're gonna do okay.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's and I remember thinking at the beginning of COVID, like, wow, what this is going to do is it's going to balance the books. It's going to kill off a lot of old people who are just lasting and lingering for years and decades longer than when the whole New Deal was struck.
Right.
And now it's like, they're like, you know what? It'll be really helpful if we just, all these people collecting pensions every month, and, all this money in Social Security, like, you know what? Like, if we just kill off a certain percentage of them, we'll really trim the fat off of the machine, some of the dead weight,
Yeah.
But there are many birds they killed with that one stone. That was just one of the birds they killed, But I also think it's, like, and I want to talk about, like, I don't know. I guess it would, like, learning about the Frankism thing was, I don't know, just like I was feeling very energized by it, and feeling like, wait, this is like, I don't know, like empowered by, like, there's this missing piece of the puzzle that had eluded me. But then I like listened to the Jack Kruse stuff, and I was like, oh, like, I don't know. It's like he has a way of making me like realize like how ignorant I am, and how much I really don't understand, and then it's like, oh, it's daunting, and it's like, oh man. But then when he ends it, he's like, no, I'm actually very optimistic and bullish on humanity. And I'm like, really? Like, doesn't sound that way, but I'm just, yeah, it's tough, and again, like, I guess, he's all into the Bitcoin, and views Bitcoin, feels like, and honestly, like I don't fully get it, but I hear what he says and it makes some sense. You know, I just I don't know, he's like, look, if we just keep on stacking Bitcoin and the dollar and fiat currencies get eventually go, lose more and more value over time, then he's like, those of us with Bitcoin are going to be the next super wealthy people, you know? And then he's like, we'll have enough money that we'll build submarines and we'll come and, save people or get people. And I don't know. I guess it's just, it makes me feel bad in a certain way because I realize, like, even though I'm learning about all this stuff and learning more and more, it's like how not prepared we are compared to some, and how, even if you're investing well and making money, it's like whatever. It's like they can just turn it off.
Absolutely right. Yeah, no, and if that's if the grand plan is like all these super rich techno bros have taken over, and so my biggest strategy is to just get rich like them, it's like, oh, okay, well, cool.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, fuck. And it's like those of us who aren't willing to just leave the US and go to El Salvador or wherever, it's like, all right, so they're just going to be able to just turn off our, eventually, like, we keep on doing this podcast. If it ever gains any traction, I don't know, it's just a matter of time before they go, all right, guys, that money you guys made in the market, yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
And it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah, no, right.
And how vulnerable, and it's like,
well, and power structure, according to Foucault, isn't going to care that we're saying this or doing this, that as long as we're, because again, even with somebody like Jack Kruse or something, right, the idea isn't, oh, let's like start the revolution. It's like, buy Bitcoin. So they're like, oh, all right, like, it's cool if you're not going after overturning the power structure, that's fine. You can talk about all this stuff all you want, just don't do about it.
yeah
and look, exactly. And sure, I can argue the other way that, spreading knowledge and blah 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 blah, maybe that's some part of, that people need to learn more and know more, or start asking more questions to be more well-informed and stuff like that. But like you just said a second ago, it's like a multi-generational plan. It's like, see you in 100 years. Oh wait, no, we won't. You'll be dead. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a multi-step, multi-generational plan. Just because some random people within one generation kind of get an idea of what we're doing, that's not going to stop it. It's like being able to predict the weather doesn't stop the cold from it's like, that's okay, we can predict it. It's right there. I see it coming. It's obvious, but it's 2 states away. I'm glad I have this Doppler radar system, but then there's nothing you can do to stop that coming. You can do about it. So I think the spreading knowledge part has gotten I don't think there's a lot of fear there. I just don't think there's a lot of fear there. I think the internet, that's one of the things that it does so well, is spread knowledge. And in that way, I think it's like one of the greatest educational advancements in humankind, easily. But then you look at what Kruse would say is that, so they need the internet to keep going because all of this blockchain stuff is linked into that. So they're not going to shut off the internet. They need it to keep going. So they'll just co-opt it. They'll use, they'll use light stuff. They'll use, they'll drive engagement. They'll gamify everything. They'll, and like they were discussing, create a 2-tier system for Bitcoin. So it's like, if you go to Robinhood or Coinbase or whatever, and you buy what, or an ETF, and you
Yeah, an
buy
ETF. Yep.
Bitcoin, you're not actually buying Bitcoin. It looks
Exactly.
that way on your computer screen.
Yeah.
As the phrase is, if you don't have the keys, it's not your Bitcoin. If you don't have
Yeah.
that phrase and it's in your own like cold storage wallet or some shit like that,
Mm-hmm.
it's yours. It's yours. Dang, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's fine
Mm-hmm.
with most people. Like, I'm just trying
Right.
to make a return on my investment. And then once it gets to wherever I want it to be, I'm going to sell it and I'm going to transfer it. I'm going to change it back into fiat currency and put that in
Yeah.
bank account. And so I
Yeah.
close the loop. We've closed the loop for them, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, and he's all about like, yeah, it's like if you're just getting the ETF and you can just recycle it back into fiat currency, then he's
Yeah.
like, no, you're gonna lose everything because they're going to crush the dollar. You know, that's the way they need to do that. They need to, and make it, and it's just like whatever, like a gold ETF. It's like, okay, the money will go up, but it's still just fiat currency. And if the hyperinflation ever hits, it's like, go for it. Now you have $1 billion that are worth, very little now, and at some
Right. That you're going
point,
to transfer into a bank account that we can shut off anytime we want.
exactly, you know. So yeah, I guess that's the thing that sometimes it just, is upsetting to me, of it's is how little on a practical level, how underprepared we are for if this shit really does happen in our lifetimes, which it looks like it's going to happen, but
Well, and they're
who knows
boiling the
when.
frog, right? They don't want
Yep.
all of a sudden you wake up tomorrow and the only way to buy stuff is Bitcoin or something, right? That's not
Yeah.
what they want. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
they want it to boil a frog. It's got to go slow. That's the maintaining the status quo. You basically want it the same tomorrow as it is today, but with maybe 1%, 2% change or something, right? It's just like
Mm-hmm.
see it in the stock market. That's like what good growth is you go up a little bit and then you go down a little bit and then you go up a little bit more and then you go down a little bit. It's never a straight line. You don't want anything to go up or down in a straight line. If that happens, something really unnatural and weird has gone down.
Mm-hmm. Like the way, the hyperinflation in Germany in the 20s, you know, like the way that went down. But that was still something that was, I mean, I guess like if scholars were here that were really expert on the hyperinflation of Germany, they'd go into some of the nuances of why it played out the way it did. But
When it didn't last that long, right? You're
right,
talking about the hyperinflation right before Hitler comes into power.
yeah, but I know that the hyperinflation happens, and then the banks come and start basically issuing these major loans. Like I remember, like the Dawes plan and the Young plan were like what I think both J.P. Morgan loans to Germany that help stop this. And I know that um, the debts were, loaned from, say, America to like, let's say, Britain and France, and then Britain and that's part of why America, not the only reason, but part of why America had to get in on the side of England and France was because J.P. Morgan had loaned so much money to them that if they defaulted on those loans, like America was fucked. So it was this weird circular thing where the America wanted to give loans. They like and wanted their money. America and J.P. Morgan wanted their money back. And the only way to do it was like Germany was going to have to pay Britain and France so that Britain and France could pay back America. And I remember like Bucky Fuller in Critical Path talked about how then America was like, oh great, so we're rich now, right? We have all this money, and then the bankers were basically like, you've forgotten your Alexander Hamilton,
Right.
that the government has no wealth. You know, so they're like, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, the money isn't being paid back to the government, it's being paid back to American bankers, you know.
Right.
And it's like this cycle and the circle, and then it's like, so now those bankers, they are going to loan money to Germany, and they're going to allow Germany to industrialize again, you know, so they can start manufacturing and paying back the loans. So, you know, to Britain and France, so that Britain and France can pay back America. And it's like, wait, what's going on here? You know, you know, it's why is this going on? You know, it's like, in a way, it's like, wait, why the fuck? So like we have whatever 30, 40 trillion in debt or whatever we are, you know, and it's kind of like, who is this money owed to? You know, it's like the bondholders. Well, who are the bondholders? And it's like, it's been so diversified. It's been so, you know, chopped up and spread around that it's like, it's no longer just, well, you owe it to these couple of families or these couple of banking houses. You know, now it's like everyone's got a piece of that debt. So if you default, you're going to fuck all these people. You know, again, which is like the thing we've talked about before, that part of the thing they want to do is how do they incentivize everyone, give everyone a piece of the, like a stock, you know, enough stock in the endeavor that they're actually like on your side now, not just because they like you, but because now they're hold stock in it, you know, now they're pot committed, you know, and that's part of the game, is how to get lots of people in on something and invested and tied into something that it's like, wait, why are they tied into it? And, you know, this thing is gonna, you know, like I have a friend that's like trying to build some medical practice. That's like some big idea. And he's got all this investment, you know, but then like, you know, things go wrong. And then all of a sudden he's got to go back and get more money, you know, because shit happens, you know, and it doesn't happen in as timely a manner as he wanted. And then he's got to go and, you know, get a new rounds of funding, you know, but now these people are probably like, all right, you want my funding? Well, I'm going to dictate the terms now, you know. Or like, why we bail out Argentina, you know? And I don't know, it's just like, I would love it if someone like really understood all of this and could make it simple, you know, for those of us who don't really understand it, you know, to explain it, you know. Because when I used to talk, especially years ago, and I'd say to my dad, I'd be like, when the debt was a fraction of what it was now, and he would be like, oh, the debt to GDP ratio is fine. It's all good. And I'm like, how can you say it's all good? Like, how is this amount of debt like sustainable? He's like, no, as long as the debt to GDP ratio is fine, then it's all good. And it's like, yeah, but soon enough, it's like, it's just going to reverse. And he's like, I'm not worried, you know? And now it's like, he's changed his tune on that, you know? And I don't know, you know, I feel like there's something to that people just buy into or born into something, and they're like, even though the house is burning, it's like everything's fine, until all of a sudden they're like, whoa, things are not fine. You know, like
yeah,
my dad.
The idea would be, hopefully you don't feel that way until just a little bit before you die.
Right? Exactly. That's
that
what
would
I'm
be the
getting at.
goal.
That's the goal. Exactly.
Yeah.
As long as people don't realize it till maybe right before they die. But then it's gonna be too late for them to do anything about it, you know?
Well, and I think that's the huge ingredient in the midlife crisis.
Yeah.
It's realizing, oh my God, I've spent 50 years working a job I hate in a culture that is like the bad guy. And I was espousing the US government. And now the more I learn about wars and why we do it, war is a racket and it's a corporate interest. And but
Mhm.
but like in kindergarten, it's like the lazy fox jumped over the brown dog or whatever,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
right, it's fucking the
Yeah,
Wiggles.
yeah.
It's the Wiggles. I don't know if you see this guy just bro. If you're watching that, everything's fine. It's like I say,
Mhm.
it's why I love cooking, like cooking
Right.
is on YouTube. If you just watch cooking videos on YouTube, you feel like you're like in heaven. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
everything's fine. There's no genocide. There's no
Yeah, yeah.
like look at this fucking weird ass mushroom ice cream.
Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy. You see that?
Mhm.
Damn. So yeah, yeah, don't realize it until you're well, and because at that point it's like you might realize it, but it's like, I'm too old to do it. I'll hope for the next generation, right? It's like
Yeah, yeah.
hope in the next generation. Maybe they'll be able to do it. My generation,
Right.
you know,
Right.
sucked.
I know.
Maybe the next one will, but they
No,
don't
just
realize how bad it is because we've been lying to them because
yeah.
it's the GDP and blah blah blah.
Yeah, yeah.
We've been lying to them the whole time because we got lied to.
Mhm. Yeah.
And Jiang is saying it's like the highest level of spirituality is to reject the cultural laws that have
Yeah.
been created, that all that stuff holds creativity down and controls people,
Mhm.
what kind of jobs they do and how they treat each other and stuff, and that maybe there's these natural laws of like don't kill other people,
Mhm.
don't cause unnecessary suffering or something, that like those, okay, try and do those if you can, but all this stuff about like what is normal or who's the bad guy, and
Mhm.
that we're already bad, that we're born in original sin, and all this kind of
Mhm.
stuff. It's just nonsense designed to control people, cause a sense of fear, so that then you can swoop in with the answer. That's what it
Right.
does. Is it says, one, there's a problem, and two, I will solve it for you.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
it's a it's and when that solution is kill other people by allowing your own people to be killed, to show that you're really serious about it, that you're actually taking it serious, because that's
Mhm.
the way
And
you
and
show.
loyal.
Yeah, that's how you're going to show, is put your life on the line or get other people to put their life on the line,
Mhm.
because that's what the bad guys are going to do, kill or be killed.
Right.
And
Right.
so yeah, maybe the US is a bad guy, maybe they're a good guy, whatever, but do you want to be alive or dead?
Right. You want your children to live or not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is where you
Yeah.
are right now. You live in Virginia, you live in Michigan, you live in New York, whatever. You're here
Mhm.
now. You're not
Mhm.
in Salvador, so it's like,
Mhm.
Bondi shooting, you can just
Yeah.
be killed anywhere. See, there's just violence and death and destruction everywhere, so be ready. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Be ready to kill or be killed.
And did you see that thing I sent you, that 5-minute thing about the Google searches
Of
for the
course.
Bondi? Right? I
Of
mean,
course.
right? Of
How long until
course.
that's shut off? Again,
I
it's
know.
the boomer Illuminati, which I just think is such an amazing and hilarious concept. It's like the funny side of the dark side or something, right? It's
Totally.
the boomer
Totally.
Illuminati who are like,
Yeah.
hey, we've spent 900 years planning all of these steps. Let me search it up on Google.
Yeah. Right.
Only to the demiurge.
I know. Right.
Like, hold on, let me search this up on Google 1 second. Like, Grandpa, I told you, you gotta use a
I
VPN.
know.
I can't figure out how to use that guy. I've lost my password to the
Yeah.
VPN.
Right.
Like, God damn it. Oh, it's such a
Oh,
great like sketch comedy or something. It's just I see
totally.
it in my mind. It's like they're planning out the future of the universe, but then like can't figure out how to log into their email
Yeah.
because
Right.
of factor authentication. and they got to pull in their 8-year-old grandson.
Yeah, right.
They can
totally.
like double check their plans for world domination. It's like the people like the people at Google are like, what the fuck?
Yeah, right. What the fuck?
Holy shit, man. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It is. It's too fucking funny, man. And that's one of the things that it sounds like Jack Kruse is like, look, man, these guys are not all knowing. You know, these guys have a lot of flaws and there's a lot of shit that they miss, you know, so it's up to us to get smarter and wiser than them because they're going to drop the ball a lot, you know, and we got to pick that ball up and, you know, zero in on their weaknesses. And honestly, it's like, and it's weird because like hearing him and that other guy talk, like how well informed they are, you know, how much they know about the ins and outs of the legislation that's being passed, and you know, and they're, you know, and it's also like, you know, I guess there are different stages of realizing what's going on, you know, and on some level, like people like you and I really understand some of the broad strokes pretty well, but then, you know, I listen to Jack Kruse and I'm like, shit, there's just so much stuff and aspects about this that I'm just like truly ignorant of, you know, like I can't tell you, like he's like basically the banks are no longer, you know, like it's like the tech thing is trumping the banking cartel, and I'm just like, you know, but I'm just like, wait, how is the banking cartel not like the ones doing that? Like I don't know. That's something I don't understand. Like I would just like that to be better explained to me. You know, how so you're telling me the banking cartel isn't like big time in on the tech thing? Like please. Like I that just doesn't make sense to me.
Unless it's the boomer Illuminati, you know, if you've got boomer Illuminati who are like did things the old-fashioned way of war equals money, then that worked like really well. But then a new idea came up, hey, let's digitize money. Let's put it all into numbers on a screen, you know, and that was recent, you know, the change on Wall Street to that kind of stuff, right? Because before the high frequency trading and the algorithms controlling most of the trading on Wall Street, that's still relatively new. For a long time, it was the old school way. It was the old school way of blackmail and honeypots and inside information and kill this guy, throw him out a window, blah blah blah. So yeah, it may be more like a generational thing where like there's the old school way of trying to run shit through fiat currency, you know, and then it switched over to the next generation, and maybe it's their kids, but it's still like between me and my parents or something in the way that we understand. Like, okay, however little I understand about Bitcoin, let's go ask my mom and dad how much they understand.
Oh yeah.
Just like it'll be just like, you know, it'll be so different that it may be like a changing of the guard, right? It may not be that it's completely separate, independent people, but that it's a changing of the guard towards a digital control system. That makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, it's like way easier. It's like way easier. It's like, oh, I don't need to go kill that guy. I can just sit here and click my mouse and turn off their bank account. Boom.
Yeah. Boom.
Like, okay, no problem. Awesome. Or like, I need some extra money. I'm going to put a couple of extra zeros in my account now. Dop, 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 dop. Like, I don't have to like rob some people and then go deposit it in a bank or some shit. You know what I mean? Like whatever the mechanism was before that. I don't have to actually do it anymore. You know, that it's not about the physical assets anymore. It's about tokenizing everything. And I think getting people on that ride, getting people on that digital currency ride, right? That they're going to keep this. I just feel it in my bones. I feel it in my bones. The Polymarket stuff. There's Kalshi now. There's Polymarket. DraftKings is going into it. They're going to create as many different ways to win the lottery for people and to get them participating in this idea
Yeah,
that
exactly.
through digital gambling, you might get fucking rich, bro.
Right.
You can bet on sports, which is ruining sports. You can bet on
Mm-hmm.
all this decision making, which seems benign until you find out that that's like the new way to pass along insider information and insider trading in a completely legal way. See, if you go and tell somebody, I know that this thing is going to happen and let's profit off of it, that's illegal. But you go and that's insider trading. But you go on Polymarket and place a $70,000 bet on that OpenAI is going to release its next chat GBT model later this month. Everybody can see that and go, oh, damn. All right. Got it. And it's completely, totally legal. And so I think getting people on this digital casino is so important, right? Because it is the continuation. It's the obvious continuation, which I wouldn't have thought of it outside of because of you and Jack Kruse. It's the obvious continuation of the Vegas experiment.
Yeah.
You get the Vegas experiment on everybody's phone and device or something, and it's like awesome. They don't have to go there anymore. They don't have to go to the physical spot in Vegas. It's a digital casino. It's a digital gambling experience because AI is going to take everybody's jobs anyway. And so everybody, shit, I can't get a job, but I'm seeing people. It's the illusion of the lottery, right? People lots of people play the lottery. Not because they think there's an actual that there's a good chance they'll win. It's that they'll take any chance to win. Any chance to win. It's so impactful to human beings, especially if you're poor. That it's like either the only way I'm surviving is crime, joining the military, or I'm going to get rich somehow off this digital casino.
Yeah, totally. And feeling like you got to be in it to win it.
Right,
and
of course. And you're going to know the more ways there are to gamble, people are going to start knowing somebody. Their brother-in-law is going to get lucky on a Polymarket bet, or so-and-so is going to do well on betting on sports or something, and it's going to be like, okay, we're going to know people. You need a lot of lotteries. You need as many lotteries as possible because you need people to believe more and more in that there's a chance that lightning could strike, and I need to get into this casino. I need to get in this casino.
Right. And it's being also mathematically challenged is part of the thing. Like the people that waste their money on lottery tickets, it's like, don't you realize, like, how much money have you spent this year on the lottery? It's like, I don't know. And it's like probably a decent amount of money, So like,
because it's about the emotion, right? It's not even they're not winning, but they keep doing it, right? So that something really important going on there, which is you're selling the emotion of escape or as Jackie talked about when his first GameStop play paid off, when he had put a bunch in at $10 and then it just rocketed. That he said he felt the poor leave his body and that he'll never forget that experience. And I think what that is it's the allostatic stress load that's put on us just by existing. It's tough to just exist, but it's way even tougher to exist if you're poor. And what meaning the toughness is extra stress. It means pressure that you feel on your body, on your system, on your psyche, on your mind. It impacts how long you live. It impacts your daily joy and stuff like that, right? It's like, and just to keep riffing off of this, that's one of the things I love about the traditional Eastern point of view about martial arts is that it says martial arts is the answer to this. This martial arts is for poor people to be able to be strong and healthy without needing a lot of money, without needing to depend on the power structures to be. That martial arts is about making poor people strong so that they don't have to, because otherwise we're trying to get the poor out of my body. I'm trying to relax. I'm trying to experience beautiful things. There's the current monkey kung fu grandmaster lineage holder. He says that the most powerful part about martial arts, or one of the most powerful things about martial arts, is that what it does is it puts your mind, it takes your mind and focuses it on something beautiful. Movement, health, spirituality, energy, stuff like that. It puts the mind on something beautiful. And right, if you're trying to get people scared to control them, you do not want that.
Yeah.
It's why the starving artist thing is a real thing. It's why people will choose to be poor but create art, because they can, by creating by expressing your true self in some artistic way, it can make up for not having a lot of money in terms of how you feel, in terms of happiness, in terms of whatever the fuck the person is after. It may not be happiness, but something else, right? And so the control mechanisms get people in the casino because they're worried, because they're scared about if they're going to have enough money, and then boom, you have like an amazing business plan. You have an amazing, that business will work. You can make money off of that. Works. That business plan works. Sell fried chicken or sell a way for people to bet. You know, if you want to make money right now, those are your two best ways. And the fried chicken shit, your margins are going to be really tight. But if you're Chick-fil-A, you're doing fine.
Well, that's the whole thing. That's why the business model has to be big business model, because then the margins don't have to be so amazing if you're selling, you know, they have to be amazing if you're selling 100 chicken sandwiches a day.
Absolutely.
But if you're selling a million a day, it's like, well, then, you know, you can make a lot of money on not the best margins, you know?
Yes.
And your costs will go down because you'll buy in bulk, and then you'll be this important client that they'll go out of their way to make sure that you're happy. And, you know, it's, you know, and then once you're big enough, then you're really on the radar, and you better be willing to play ball and not be some idealistic fool who is like, I don't like this. This is not moral. You know, I'm going
to... I guarantee that person is rich.
Exactly.
They have enough money to not worry about it.
Exactly. And now you're not, when you have enough, you're not going to throw your body onto the gears of the machine to stop the machine. You know?
Right. No. Well, and you're not going to be thinking, well, how do I steal food today for my family? You're not going to be thinking about crime. How can I like get some meth so that I can sell it so that my family eats? You're not going to be considering any of that stuff. It's like, no, like, oh, capitalism is terrible. It's like, oh, you're rich, bro. Like, no, you're not worried about survival.
Yeah. No, and I like what you were saying about, like, you know, focusing on something beautiful or creating something beautiful, and how, you know, because being a starving artist was always basically was the plan you know.
No, I know.
Embarked on, you know, decades ago, and honestly, it got me through a lot. You know, that romantic vision of, you know, being that, and that's another thing that was interesting that kind of links up with the Frankism. The Frankism is that you need to kind of like hit bottom to, like, you need to get low, you know, which is interesting, because that was part of the motto of the Beat Generation. The Beat Generation was, you know, hit bottom.
Yeah.
You know, sink to the bottom, like become a starving artist.
Yeah. Drop
out. Exactly. Yep. You know, and yeah, no, I guess it's just weird for me now, because now it's like things, and I'm someone who kind of has avoided a lot of the technology just because I was like, I wanted to live a more pure, beautiful life. But then it's like, shit, at some point, like, the advancements are so vast that it's like you find yourself being like, shit, I am I'm a bit of a fish out of water here, you know. Like it's hard to know how to swim in these waters now because it's hard to do it the simple way that I'd been doing it for a long time. I mean, I still do it, but it's it becomes more daunting.
You want to do this Itzhak Bentov? It's a minute 13 seconds, and then maybe end on a hilarious, I think a hilarious, amazing short rapper that you just need to hear, and then maybe
okay. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, here's Itzhak.
Okay.
Well, talking about the soul, it's a kind of non-physical thing, highly theoretical. And so when you go to church, you take this soul out of the closet and polish it up a little bit, and then you go to church and you have one with your soul. Then you come back and put it back in the closet till next week. So that's about the idea of a normal person, the soul. But actually, that's not the case. I mean, we don't have souls, but it's just the other way around. The soul has us. So that is that thing that evolves, the permanent, eternal thing is the soul, and the body is a kind of disposable thing.
Right, the opposite of what we're talking about. The fear essentially is based on the fear of what? Death, my body dying.
Right, yeah.
That's what the fear is dependent on, right? Okay, here we go.
That is, you use a body like a car for 80,000 miles, 100,000 miles, and you junk it, and that's it. You get another one. So it's the driver is the soul who uses the body for a while, and then he runs it into the ground, and he gets another one sooner or later.
And so it's the soul.
Okay, and here we go. So let's get to this maybe next time. The part 2 UFOs is time travel. Okay, here's Yuno Miles. He's from Detroit. He's a rapper, but he's just doing comedy. He's doing like comedy rap, which I just think
that's
so
awesome.
incredible.
Yeah,
get ready for this. Get ready for this. I had to choose between this and Martin Luther King, which are both are amazing. But let's do Honey Bun just for. Here we go.
Be certified, bitch.
Seen this bad girl at the store, she like a honey bun. She brown skin bad, man, she like a honey bun. So I had to hit her with the, where you from? I might have to DM, she a honey bun. Had to hear up, sweet honey iced tea. Why this nigga mad? Cause he look like iced tea. My brother in the back room, that nigga like iced tea. Make sure my shoes fresh, them bitches Nike. Feel like Chip Scott, like my shiny teeth in me. Hit it with the black and yellow, just like Bumblebee. I never fumble the money, cause it's calling me. I feel like a baller on the court, but not shooting three. Bitch, I feel strong today, woke up like Hercules. Need to go back to school, what the fuck is a hyperbole? Why the hell I hit my mouth, now I got no teeth. Went and moved to the forest, they say I'm a beast. Hey, she a honey bun, she a honey.
Oh my god. I'm such a fan. Let's get 30 seconds of Martin Luther King and then
okay.
Shout out Martin Luther King, that nigga had a dream. Fuck do you mean? That nigga had a dream. Martin Luther King. Hey, Martin Luther King, shout out to Big Bro. If it wasn't for Big Bro, I wouldn't be rapping though. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be here rapping this shit, trapping this shit, stealing shit for my family and shit. Can't forget about Malcolm X and Rosa Parks. I feel like we made it out the park, but it don't matter because of Martin Luther King. A nigga had a dream.
He has a couple of tracks where he's like world's fastest rapper, like world's fastest rap, and then it's just like individual sounds. It's not like actual words. Just such a fan. I'm just such a fan. That's so brilliant. Oh my gosh. Oh, just gets every time. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, we did rock and roll adventure. I'll see you next time for it. I'll post it up.
Definitely, man.
Awesome as always.
Awesome, my man. Yeah, great talking to you, buddy.
You too, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, definitely.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Jagan.